What if free people could live secure in the knowledge that their security did not rest upon the threat of instant U.S. retaliation to deter a Soviet attack, that we could intercept and destroy strategic ballistic missiles before they reached our own soil or that of our allies? I know this is a formidable technical task, one that may not be accomplished before the end of this century. Yet current technology has attained a level of sophistication where it's reasonable for us to begin this effort.
Ronald Reagan, his whole life, fought against communism. We see back in the 50s when he was president of the Screen Actors Guild, he fought against communism. And he came into the White House with an agenda. He wanted to end the Cold War. And the Strategic Defense Initiative was just one of the ways he did it. He used it as a bargaining chip to bring Mikhail Gorbachev to the bargaining table, which again ultimately brought them to the INF Treaty, which, as I said earlier, brought an end, destroyed all intermediate nuclear weapons. He was a strong believer in peace through strength, and we show those items in our exhibit by talking about the missiles, the buildup, all the things that he did while in office to help bring an end to the Cold War.
We're at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library featuring Star Wars on another edition of Out and About with Roger Martin.
We are inside the Reagan Library's brand new special exhibition. It's called Defending America and the Galaxy, Star Wars and SDI, and it tells the story of President Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative and how that ties into the Star Wars movies franchise.
And exactly how does the tie-in?
So in March of 1983, President Reagan announced his Strategic Defense Initiative, which at the time was basically just a research program to try and find a way to bring an end to nuclear war. And the very next day, Senator Ted Kennedy went on the news and made fun of it and called it Star Wars, and the name stuck in the media. And no matter what Ronald Reagan or his administration did, they couldn't shake the name, and the Strategic Defense Initiative became known as Star Wars. Ronald Reagan didn't like it because to him, the Strategic Defense Initiative was about peace, not about war, but it stuck. And so we thought we would use that sort of fun idea of Star Wars, bring people in to see original props and costumes from the Star Wars movie franchise, and then teach them a little bit about President Reagan's defense program.
Vintage footage from the 1980s details President Reagan's plans to deploy the weaponry of the SDI program. The visuals include equipment that is actually on display, including this command launch equipment console, as well as other items like model prototypes which would have been developed had the plan ever been launched. The exhibit offers a glimpse into the Cold War mindset that was prevalent during this era.
We have items on display in the Strategic Defense Initiative side, from missiles that were destroyed when the INF Treaty was signed to an actual deactivated nuclear missile from the Cold War. We have a command launch equipment console, which is the actual console that would launch a ground interceptor to stop a nuclear attack. Memos through the Reagan administration talking about the program, a lot to see and learn.
Of course, for most visitors, the main attraction is the assortment of aliens and droids representing the Star Wars universe. First launched by filmmaker George Lucas in the late 70s, the epic saga is more popular than ever, and the exhibit includes original scripts and concept drawings of the characters and costumes in their early stages, as well as full props like the land speeder used by Luke Skywalker in the original 1977 feature.
What's really interesting about our exhibition is that there are a lot of traveling Star Wars exhibitions. There was one in LA not that long ago. But most of the Star Wars exhibitions are fan recreations of the props and costumes from the movies. But everything you see here in our exhibit is original and authentic to the movies themselves.
An authentic helmet worn by Darth Vader is on hand, as well as a script signed by the actor who portrayed him in the original film trilogy. And the ceremonial white dress worn by Princess Leia in the original film is on display as well.
The actual dress that Carrie Fisher wore as Princess Leia in 1977's A New Hope. Over my shoulder is an original land speeder, which was the anti-gravity vehicle that Luke Skywalker flew in A New Hope. So the items are from our childhood. And then again, I have children who watched it, in the 2000s, and I got to relive it again. And that's what we're talking to guests as they come. And that's what we're hearing a lot. They're reliving their childhood, bringing them back to the past, and just a really fun way to do that.
To create the groundbreaking special effects needed to propel Star Wars into the future, George Lucas pioneered the use of special cameras to do what no one had ever done before. These cameras were key to the film's success, and two of them are part of the items on display. I do see a very large camera. What is that from?
Yeah, so when we put this exhibition together, we were teaching people about Ronald Reagan, but we also wanted to teach people about George Lucas and the Star Wars franchise. George Lucas was an innovator, and at the time when they came out with A New Hope, they didn't have motion-controlled cameras, and he wanted all of the space fights and the dog fights to look realistic. And back then, to film something like that, you'd make a miniature spaceship, you'd put it on a stick, and you'd sort of whiz that stick past the camera. And George Lucas was like, no, we need to do something different, we need to do something better. And him and his visual effects supervisor, John Dykstra, created a motion-controlled camera where you put that model on the stick, but rather than moving the model beyond the camera moved around the model. And that made it look like the cameras were in space. And that camera is here on display in the library, and that camera is the actual camera that filmed the Death Star explosion scene in A New Hope.
So you wouldn't mind if we used that to shoot a couple of episodes of Out and About, right?
It'd be a little heavy on your shoulder. It's quite a large camera.
Well, I'd have somebody else do that, of course.
Yeah, so we have that here, and then we talk about George Lucas, we talk about how he created the movie. We really recommend that you rent the audio tour because you'll learn so much more. But we even have concept art from the movies, what the land speeder was supposed to look like, what Darth Vader was supposed to look like. And I don't know if you know this, but when David Prowse was hired, he was given the option. Did he want to be Darth Vader or did he want to be Chewbacca? He chose to be Darth Vader, and we have his original 1977 script on display with his autograph next to the actual helmet he wore as Darth Vader.
It's so much fun to see original items from just about anything, but especially this motion picture.
Absolutely, and it's not just A New Hope as well. I keep mentioning that. We have Return of the Jedi, we have Phantom Menace, we have the desk that Anakin Skywalker used in Phantom Menace, and then we also talk about the spoofs of the movie. We talk about Hardware Wars, we talk about Spaceballs, and we have items from those movies as well.
The exhibit also delves into the success of the film's lucrative line of toys, which include action figures, spaceship models, books, and dolls, generating millions of dollars in revenue. And since features are released every few years, the toys are embraced by new generations of fans. As it soon approaches its 50th anniversary, it's hard to imagine a universe without Star Wars. The cinematic sensation has been with us for so long, it's no surprise that even a U.S. president would recognize that this timeless tale of good against evil would resonate not only across the galaxy, but across the country.
In '83, it was just a research program, but what Ronald Reagan did with that research program ultimately led to the INF Treaty, which did bring an end to all intermediate nuclear range weapons. And today, there is an organization called the Missile Defense Agency, or MDA, basically putting into practice what Ronald Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative was all about. And the MDA is here to protect not just America, but the world from nuclear attacks.
Education is probably the main thing that I'm thinking about when I come here, and today is certainly a good example of it.
Right, so we always try at the Reagan Library to somehow use our special exhibition space to continue teaching about Ronald Reagan's life and legacy. We can't always do it, but here we thought we could do it in a fun way because, as you said, all age ranges from a 5-year-old boy to a 95-year-old person has seen Star Wars. They know the movie, they know the trilogies, and all the way to the TV franchise today. So they can come here, they can get excited by it. We have people coming in costume, it's really fun. And then while they're here, they get educated about President Reagan's initiatives.
So how long will people have to actually see this exhibit?
So this exhibition is open through September 8th of 2024. You can purchase your tickets here when you get here, or you can purchase them online in advance at reaganlibrary.com/Star Wars.